Hello and welcome to Written Words. I'm busy at the moment working on another lesson to go on our website, and this one is from our Themes in Literature series, and the theme that we look at in this lesson is trains and how trains are presented in literature, from Robert Louis Stevenson to E. Nesbit and even a little bit of Thomas the Tank Engine and Paula Hawkins. We explore how trains are used for all sorts of different purposes in literature, whether that's to imitate the sound they make, as a framing device, or as characters themselves. And in this video, I thought I would just share a story that I wrote myself, which is also about trains and stations. It's set in Retford Station in Nottinghamshire, not far from where I live. And it's a place where I've spent a lot of time dropping people off, picking people up, and occasionally catching a train myself, either going south towards London or up towards the north of England and Scotland. But the one thing that I always notice when I'm standing on the platform is how cold it is. The story is called Warmer Climes. Retford Station is the coldest place on earth. Despite the sleepy hush, wind blusters up and down the tracks, swirling but focused in its determination to travel faster than the trains and flaunting its elemental prowess. Even in summer, this chaotic motion stirs up an icy fragrance infused with splinters of frosty impertinence that can penetrate any clothing, rendering fingers and toes numb and useless. A brief visit from a train brings a fleeting glimmer of warmth, but never enough to provide any real relief, only an echo from a balmier place. The waiting rooms, too, have their own peculiar coldness. Any respite provided by the walls vanishes every time the doors open themselves to allow another traveller in or out, or when the automatic sensor pretends it needs to let someone through, despite the absence of people. Then, with each reminder of the Arctic reality, the occupants of the room huddle up more tightly inside themselves and cower behind their phones. A chill of this sort cannot be measured in degrees on a thermometer, and it does not change with the seasons. It's a state brought about by waiting and anticipation, and from the tacit understanding that warmth is to be found elsewhere, upon moving away from this temporary vacuum. It is a Friday morning in September. 2 large suitcases and a guitar are propping each other up in the middle of the platform, not quite guarded by 2 women. The younger of the 2, the restless, dancing features on her face revealing an effervescent mixture of excitement and trepidation within, is Alice. Youthful energy and eagerness are leaking out of every part of her, like a dam that is going to burst at any moment. She is 18, uni-ready, and about to board a train to London, where her new adult life is waiting for her. Appearances might suggest that her mother, Anna, is handling the situation quite differently, her manner and tone of voice giving the impression of serenity and calm. However, it is a known fact that appearances cannot always be trusted, and this is a woman who is preparing to part with her only remaining child. A child is never completely yours, someone once told her. You only borrow them for a while. A station platform is a stage where endings and beginnings, partings and meetings are enacted, and the concrete ground is watered with many a tear of joy or sadness. So many scenes like this one have been played out in this wind-ravaged spot, but in each one the players see their own drama as the first and the last. While Alice and Anna concentrate on holding on tightly to the kite strings of their inner turmoil, 2 pigeons drop down from the canopy overhead and strut about in their usual comical fashion, pecking fruitlessly at the meticulously swept surface. After completing a full circle of the 2 women and the luggage, they do-si-do for a while, nodding and crooning at each other. Then, with a final bob of the head, they both take to the air at the same time and fly off in opposite directions. Having paid the birds no attention as they were dancing around her feet, Anna blinks when they flap their wings as she watches them depart, before turning her attention back to her daughter. Alice is still chattering away above the speed limit, the bubbles of her sparkling exuberance fizzing and fighting in their race to reach the surface of her overflowing glass. Anna smiles gently, but her eyes are having different thoughts. The eyebrows droop a little, casting the subtlest shadow over her eyes. A muffled, tongue-twisted announcement is coughed out of a speaker somewhere above their heads, and the mood instantly changes. Like an animal startled by a car's headlamps, Alice stops talking, suddenly choked by the reality of it all. In a few seconds, she will be whisked away to adulthood, leaving her childhood behind. Subconsciously aware of the warmth to come, she unfolds her arms and allows the front of her hoodie to hang loose, no longer sealing out the drafts. The air stirs greedily, but is pushed back as Anna steps forward for a last hug. When the tracks begin to squeal, announcing the train's imminent arrival, and the passengers take up their positions ready to leap on board as quickly as possible at the first available opportunity, Alice reaches for her luggage and prepares her own stance, muscles coiled like springs. Anna leans closer to leave some parting words in her ear before the noise becomes too loud to hear anything. Then the red and white bulk of the train rumbles in front of them, shaking the ground beneath their feet, as well as the air all around and inside them. There is a brief pause when nothing happens, making the passengers all the more impatient to leap into action, even though they know this is always the way it happens. Then a hiss, a few short beeps from all the carriages at the same time, and the doors slide aside to let out the few people whose journeys are ending here. After that, the frenzy begins. Everyone rushes towards the doors, each desperate to be the first on board, whilst simultaneously trying to appear polite and nonchalant, as if moving ahead in the queue is actually doing people a favour by getting out of their way. The false courtesies over, the windows show seats filling with their new occupants, coats and bags being arranged above, below and on laps, and the remaining few stragglers jostling their way down the aisle in search of their allotted places. Alice comes into view, and Anna steps sideways so that the two are directly facing each other. Despite Alice's bulky luggage, she seems to have it tucked away much more efficiently than those around her. She's still smiling as she looks out at her mother, but the smile is slightly altered now. There are fewer bubbles and more steel. With no companion to talk to, the stream of chatter has ceased. The warmth of the carriage has begun to soothe her shivering nerves, and the weight of responsibility for her own well-being has firmed her features. Anna's cool mastery of the situation, however, is showing signs of cracking. An observant passer-by might notice an excess of water in her eyes and a faint reddening of the nose, which has nothing to do with the chill in the air. The doors close, sealing in the more favourable climate. The guard waves his lollipop signal and blows his whistle, and the train glides, slowly at first, but rapidly gathering speed, away from the platform, the station, and Anna. It is travelling south, towards the bright lights, to London, where Alice will make her new home. Eventually, the train becomes so minute that a gentle undulation in the land swallows it up completely. Anna takes a tissue from her pocket and dries her eyes and nose. She sniffs, straightens her body, and turns to look at the single suitcase left standing on the platform. An undetermined amount of time passes as she stares at the suitcase, her thoughts wrapped up in themselves, until a gust of wind ruffles her hair, bringing her back into the present. Giving way to its gentle urging, she clutches the case by the handle and pulls it behind her, towards the exit. On reaching the ticket hall, she glances at the ever-open main doors, blinks slowly, and turns right, heading down to the underpass. At the end of the tunnel, she climbs the short staircase to emerge onto a different platform, this one even more exposed to the elements than the previous one. The departures screen states that the next train to Edinburgh is due in 2 minutes. Everything she knew has gone away. It is time to start a new journey. What part do trains and train journeys play in your life? Do you love travelling by train or do you hate it? To find out more about our lessons and how to become a written word student, head to our website at writtenwords.uk. I hope you enjoyed the story. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.